Hi, this is Lisa Rangel with Chameleon Resumes, the premier executive resume writing company, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today, if you've ever said the phrase, "I'm not a natural networker," then this video is for you today. This was a phrase that was said to me by a client. I was trying to help him come up with better ways to network, virtually, obviously in this online world that we're in. And his response to me was, "Well, Lisa, I'm not a natural networker like you." And, and I feel his pain because networking is not easy. But I wanted to share, it prompted me to want to share a story with you, because I have a feeling the I'm not a natural networker is something that many of us feel. And I say us because I am an introvert. Most people don't believe it, but I am more of an introvert than I am an extrovert for sure. And I have spent a lot of time and money and on coaches and training and all kinds of stuff to help me be a what I call externally functioning introvert. So I was complimented by the fact that he thought I was a natural networker, because it means my work is paying off, thankfully, because it's a lot of work, to say the least. But I'm not a natural networker, and I know the pain. And so I wanted to share a story. So this way, those of you that relate to that statement, "I'm not a natural networker," will know that you can do this. So when I first, or actually the second job I had in recruiting, I forced myself into a sales role at the recruiting company that I worked for. I forced myself, and this was years ago, I forced myself into a role where I had to call companies, make appointments with their financial leadership, because I was doing accounting and finance, recruiting, sales at the time. And I had to make appointments with their financial leadership and then sell our services and get jobs to work on and then bring those jobs back to the office, and we would all work on them and fill them, and that's how we made our money. And frankly, that's why we're really good at teaching people how to find jobs, because that's what I did for a living for a long time. But when I first started this sales job, selling accounting and finance recruiting services, it was in a Wall Street recruiting office. I was sitting in essentially a bullpen, and to further explain that, it was basically just a bunch of desks put together face to face, and we would all be smiling and dialing for appointments. And this was not natural to me at all, basically cold calling. And I was doing it in front of all these people that, in my opinion, had really natural talent to getting on the phone and getting appointments and selling their wares, so to speak. And I was like tongue-tied. I would literally in between, I'd try to do 2-3 calls, and I'd get up and run to the bathroom, and I would cry and panic in the bathroom, and then clean myself off, clean my face off, and go back out and make a few more calls, and then run to the bathroom. And I mean, it was painful to me. I felt like an inept used car salesman, and it was painful to me, because I felt like these people that I was calling didn't want to deal with me. I felt like I was wasting their time. I felt like they just knew I was calling to sell something, and it was awful. I felt it was awful. But I made myself do this job. And the reason why I made myself do this job, it was my late 20s, I think, is because I knew I was very competent at what I did. I knew that I was an extremely hard worker. I knew I was very smart in how I executed the work that I did, whatever it is I was doing. And I knew that I would probably run into some obstacles in my career if I didn't learn how to sell. Because just even though for that job I was just selling accounting and finance recruiting services, I viewed that job as symbolically teaching me how to sell. Teaching how to sell myself, teaching me how to sell an idea, teaching me how to influence others. And I had this crazy foreshadowing at that moment when I started to look for a sales job in recruiting, because I was a recruiter before then too, but I was procuring the candidates and I wasn't really getting the business to the job openings that paid the bills. But I shifted to putting myself in a position of getting the business, of doing those sales calls, because I had a feeling that if I didn't learn how to sell, that I was going to find myself in a predicament later in my career being stagnated or being unrecognized, being overseen for roles, because I was operating up till then in a way that, well, my work was so good, people would see it, or I would just get recognized because I'm accomplishing things, and my work speaks for itself. And I did not value sales, and I did not value selling myself in my 20s. And I got passed over on a lot of things that I shouldn't have got passed over on. And it was because I was introverted. I was even told, like, you need to be more outgoing. You need to act like you're more excited about this. I'm like, I'm excited. It's just, what am I supposed to do with my face? My face is my face, right? So I knew it was going to be a hindrance at some point. And I was like, I got to learn how to sell some stuff. So I put myself in this sales role, in this Wall Street bullpen, sales role. And it forced me to learn how to sell. And so it was painful. I became really good at it, and I became really good at it for different reasons. My boss at the time, she was extremely outgoing, very extroverted, was completely a natural at sales, and I just wasn't. And if I tried to compare myself with her, I always felt like I was on the short end of the stick, on the sales talent spectrum. And she was very good, but I knew I had to come up with my own way, and my way was different. I capitalized and started to use my, non-salesy approach as my asset. And that is what turned things around for me. When I stopped trying to be someone I wasn't, when I stopped trying to be this gregarious salesperson, which I wasn't, I started to actually get some sales. I started because people found me credible because I wasn't overly selling. I wasn't, clearly coming through the door trying to sell something. They felt I was genuine because I wasn't overtly selling, and so there was a certain value in my approach. One way wasn't better than the other. And in fact, it was great that we complemented each other, because those that responded to her were probably people who would not respond to me, and vice versa. So, if you're smart, like she was running a sales team, you kind of want different personalities, because you'll win over all different kinds of personalities by having different personalities. So anyway, it was good. But I came to stop being what I wasn't and start being what I was, and making that part of my sales approach. And the reason why I wanted to share this story with you is because I speak to countless senior professionals and executives who have made it a lot farther than I did on their record alone. I started struggling on just hoping my record would carry me in my late 20s. Some people are blessed to have their record carry them into their 40s and 50s, and then finding themselves in the unblessed situation of learning how to sell themselves at this later stage, right? So everything has its pros and cons. And in some of these senior professionals and executive situations, they were blessed in being carried for so long based on their record. But now that they have to sell themselves, they're really paralyzed. And I find that they struggle because they're trying to be something they're not. They're trying to be that and I hear it in their voice. I'm not a natural networker. I'm not someone who's knocking on doors. I'm the person you bring in to see if it's the right fit, but I'm not the one who knocks on doors. Or, I think they're going to think I'm trying to just get a job, so they're going to think I'm wasting their time, or they feel desperate, and it's all of these things, right? So. But it's because they haven't had to sell themselves actively before. They've done it passively, or they've let their record speak for itself. And we're in some crazy times right now, right? Selling yourself is hard, and it's harder in the situation that we find ourselves in, economically, public health-wise, racially challenged, the whole thing, right? So, everything is making everything harder. But we have to learn to do this if we want to continue the life that we've had. I reached a point where I knew my introversion was going to hinder me. And so the desire to have a better life started to outweigh the fear I had of being introverted trying to sell something. And I feel like executives and senior professionals, you can make that shift when you finally come to terms with the fact that, okay, so I'm an introvert. Okay, I'm not a natural networker. So what? That doesn't mean you still can't learn how to do this. You can still sell. You just have to do it in your way, and you have to just keep trying. Even if the first few times you do it, you're not doing it so well. You know, I still make mistakes. I still hang up the phone after leaving a message and go, oh my God, I sounded like a dork. You know, I'll still send an email, and after I sent it, you know, dare I say there was a typo in it, and I go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. You know what? You have to focus on what's working, and you have to focus on the positive. And if you send out, you know, 30 emails or make 30 phone calls and leave 30 messages, don't focus on the ones that you flubbed. Focus on the ones you did well at. Don't focus on the ones that don't respond. Focus on the ones that do respond. You know, or don't focus on the ones that don't respond. Focus on the ones that do respond. I'm not sure if I said that right. But anyway, you get the idea. There's always going to be something wrong. There's always going to be something that doesn't feel right about it. You're never going to feel comfortable doing it. But you have to do it anyway if you want to have the end result of landing that awesome job that you want. And you're going to be okay doing it. So I wanted to share this story because you're really not alone if you're not a natural networker. And it's okay that you're not a natural networker. And it's okay that you might even be introverted. In a good way, I say, so what? You can do this. You absolutely unequivocally can do this. We're just going to break it down in ways that you are going to do it your way. And you don't have to be somebody you're not. So if this resonates with you and you'd like some help with it, just email me. I'm at lr@chameleonresumes.com, and we'll see what we can do to help you help figure out how to help you. All right? So have a great day, and thanks for joining me today. If you like this video, I'm going to ask you to like it. If you think somebody can benefit from it, I'm going to ask you to share it. Feel free to comment below or email me at lr@chameleonresumes.com. I answer and reply to every comment and every email. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on next week's episode. Have a great week. Take care.